Welcome to the Bike Life podcast by Warmshowers Foundation, where we will be sharing knowledge, experience, tools, and stories of touring cyclists and hosts from around the world. I'm Tara Lee, the woman behind the scenes at Warmshowers Foundation, the leading platform for cyclists looking for hosts and to connect with a passionate international community. Find out more by visiting us at Warmshowers.org. Now, on to the show. Welcome back to Bike Life. Today's guest is a host extraordinaire, hosting for 8 years and has over 100 positive feedbacks. He's a legend, and he lives off of Highway 1 in Big Sur, California. Welcome to the show, Richard, or otherwise known as Murdock. We're going to call you Murdock today. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Yeah, we're excited.
Pretty excited to be on a podcast for the first time. So really exciting.
Is this your first podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. First one. Yeah.
Amazing. And you've been participating as a host and now as a cyclist with Warm Showers for a number of years.
Yes, I started back in 2013, and that's a pretty crazy story how I started. You know, I wasn't an avid cyclist at all. I just let's rewind to 2013. I was driving back from town, and you know, I work for the Forest Service. I'm a wildland firefighter, and I saw this gal riding up this hill, and she looked exhausted, and I offered her a Gatorade, and gave her a Gatorade, and I told her my station is up the road a couple miles. Just stop in. You can fill up your water bottles and stuff like that. So she stopped in, you know, a half an hour later, and then I gave her cold Gatorade, and I said, I want to hear your story. Where are you coming from? Where are you going? And you know, her name was Michelle, and she was on a 14-month journey, 4 continents and 20 countries, 14 months on the road. And I think she was going to do like 20,000 miles. She was a school teacher on sabbatical leave. And I'm going to go and say she's in the top 10 most interesting people I ever met in my whole life. So, you know, it was in the middle of the day, and I just said, hey, you know, let me cook you dinner or something. Why don't you come down to my house, and I'll put you, you know, you can set up a tent or something. But so I invited her to my house, and then, you know, we got chatting, and I let her stay in my guest room, and then she turned me on the warm showers. She's like, you're in the perfect spot. If you set up a profile, you're going to get solicited all the time. And, you know, just to hear her stories that night, we chatted for a couple hours, and I made some pasta, and then it just escalated from there. And then, you know, we got to chatting, and she said that, you know, we started talking. She was a triathlete. We started talking about triathlons, and then she's like, I not only participated in that Ironman triathlon, I won a Ironman triathlon. And then, sure enough, I went to her blog, and it has her winning the Ironman triathlon. But I think she was from Barcelona, and I think her in Barcelona it was called like a tough man or something, but it was the same distance. And I started thinking, are these the people I'm going to meet if I set up a profile? And then another layer of Melissa or Michelle, she enrolled in the New York City Marathon. So in between riding her bike all day, she had to find time to train for a marathon, you know. And so I followed her blog, and she's a really good writer. And that's how it basically started. And then, you know, I set up a profile, and then like within an hour, someone contacted me, and the first guy, I still remember the first guy, his name was Tom, and and then I just started hosting after that. And I've been a distance. I used to be a distance runner, so I knew all about carb loading, and so I thought, what meal can I give them that give them the most carbs? So I started just giving them pasta and cooking pasta every night, and then getting garlic bread, and then making famous waffles in the morning. So I give them waffles with ice cream to get them up these hills, because I tell them, once you leave my house, you have a elevation gain of about 4,000. So you want to get as many calories as you can, So, and it's been great. I met some of the most incredible people from all over the world, and every time when you think you've seen it all, someone else comes along, and I'm like, you're doing what, and you're going where, So I've hosted unicyclist. We had a guy named Felix from Montreal that rode a unicycle all the way across the country, and so I hosted them. I hosted a couple people that have like 3-wheel bikes with like a sail on it. I don't know for what exactly that is. Recumbent bikes, tandem bikes, people traveling with their dogs. I've hosted family of 4. I hosted a family of 4 that were homeschooling their kids on the road. And then it was pretty remarkable. My 200th guest was a paraplegic that was breaking the Guinness Book of World Record with the longest ride with his hands. So, I can't make this up. I can't make this stuff up. So every time I enjoy hosting, I enjoy hearing the stories, and I try to make it the most warming, hospitable experience they have. So I try to raise the bar really high. So if anybody's thinking about hosting, you got to think of like these people been on the road for months on end, and when you welcome them into your home, you want to be as welcoming as possible, because all these people are, missing their families, and you want to feel like their family for the night. So, they always remember, Big Sur. I hope, they see Big Sur on the map someday. And it's like, I stayed with Murdock, and it was the best experience of my life. So, I have a little bit of background in the hospitality industry. I bartended through college, so I know how to, I worked in restaurants and stuff like that. So I try to make it the best experience possible. So anybody that's thinking about hosting or is hosting, just, if try to do the best you can with giving them as much food as they can handle, because they're going to be riding, and and all that stuff combined, make sure they,
great. Really great stuff. I want to just recap at how powerful the story is that you just shared. You saw a woman that was working hard on the road, and you got to know her and offered her a Gatorade, which introduced you to Warm Showers. And since then you have, how many cyclists have you hosted? Do you know?
Over 200.
Over 200 cyclists, and
yeah,
the experiences that you've had, the people that you've met, how fascinating. And after having 200 cyclists, you definitely have a pretty good idea of what most cyclists need when they stop at your place. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Other than, we're definitely talking about food and ensuring that they have, like carbs I'm intrigued about these famous waffles with ice cream. I want waffles with ice cream. Outside of that, what else can you suggest that hosts can do to make a cyclist stay supportive for their journey?
Okay, so first of all, when they get to my house, I don't like the dryer going at like 10 o'clock. So right when they get there, I said, if you need laundry done, let's do it right now. So I get them going with laundry. And then if they need, I already have the towels ready and stuff. And if they need a shower, I let them shower. And then I always have and then I get an appetizer ready. So like chips and salsa or something like that, right when they get there. And then I offer them a Gatorade, or if they want a beer or a soda or water. So I have all that ready. And then I let them kind of refurb, let them refurb whatever they need to refurb. If they have to charge anything, I have a charging station for them. A lot of them have different things to charge. And then in my in their room, I have like a free box. So like if they other stuff cyclists left, and they can, or if they want to drop off something for another cyclist. So I do that, and then basically I get the pasta going, and basically I kept a tally. It was just one thing. I'm big on numbers, and I wanted to see how many pounds of pasta 100 cyclists can eat.
Wow.
So I the numbers 78. So each cyclist can usually eat about a pound of pasta.
Wow.
And then I have to cater to not everybody likes pasta, so I kind of ask them what they how they like their pasta. So another spin I want to put on it is like, these people have been on the road for months on end, just probably eat whatever's in front of them. So I try to get some kind of fruits and vegetables. So a good salad for them, or a lot of vegetables in the spaghetti sauce. So they have a little bit of a break from the junk food, because, being a firefighter, sometimes out on fires, and we eat this crap that's in these lunches. And I always love when I get home where I can have like a good salad or something like that. So, anyway, so I do that. And then, a lot of people always want to help. And I'm like, you've been riding all day. I got dinner handled, So, I cook dinner, and then I always, it's pretty cool when my mom passed. It's not cool, but when my mom passed away, I took out, I cleaned out her house, and I had these, little actual containers for banana splits. So I always make banana splits after dinner, and it kind of just blows them away. So they get as much, they get the best meal. I try to give them the best meal possible that I can make with what I have. And the only hard part is, I live remote, so I'm an hour, 15 minutes to town. So a lot of times I can't, I don't, sometimes I really got to think a week ahead of time when I go to the store, like, okay, if I'm hosting 3 people this week, what do I need to pick up? You know what I mean? And
now,
then
are there seasons where you have more, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but are there seasons where you have more cyclists than other, like what's the busy time of year for you?
Yes. May to November is the busy time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it's funny, my employees, sometimes they live in town, and sometimes I'm like, in the heat of the moment, I'm like, can you pick up a bell pepper? Can you pick up some garlic bread? And then they like it, because if they go to the store for me, that means they can show up late.
Well, that's a win-win. They get to show up late. You get some extra supplies for the cyclists. Now, does anyone that work with you, they must know that you do this. Has any of them ventured into hosting after hearing about all these amazing experiences you're having?
Yeah, not my employees, but different people. I kind of share, I share some guests on Facebook, and, I let them know, like, don't put an age limit on your dreams, because sometimes I host people that are, in their 70s or 80s, and they're out there doing it. So I get inspired by all these people I host, and I'm like, if you're out there doing it, I can, you can, you know what I mean? Just don't put an age limit on your dreams. So, but the most incredible people you know, I can go on and on with stories of people I met. But
well, tell us some more. Tell us some more of the most interesting stories that you've experienced as a host.
Okay, so there's one, I forget this guy's name. They all come together, but this guy, he lived in Boston. He was riding his bike across the country to go to his son's graduation, and he took like the 1974 Schwinn Latour out of the rafters that's been sitting with dust, and he goes, I'm going to ride this across the country, and I don't know if my body's going to make it. I don't know if the bike's going to make it. He goes, at any given time, I was ready to dump this bike and fly to San Francisco. And he had no panniers. He basically had that little bag the frame bag. Mm-hmm. He had the frame bag and what he was wearing and what he slept in. And so he was riding across the country and he found out where Schwinn headquarters was. I think it's in Chicago. And he rolled into Chicago. And and one, they're blown away that like he was on one of their bikes, mm-hmm. and a bike that old. And then he, the mechanics came out and overhauled his bike, and mm-hmm. they put new derailleurs on it. And he's like, it rode like the day I bought it. You know what I mean? And this guy was great. And that guy actually has the waffle record. So he ate 5.5 waffles. So I'm like, do you want another one? You got a bunch of hills. You want another one? You better have another one.
Oh my goodness.
So that's one of the great stories. And then last summer, because sometimes, I've had full-time jobs. Sometimes I go to fires, and I have a contingency plan for all the cyclists. If I go to a fire, they just go to the campground down the road, and I educated I always front load the camp hosts so they know they're coming in. So one time I was I told them, if I'm not here, just go to the campground, or just sometimes I let them go to my house and just settle in. So basically, it was a couple from Australia, and they were coming down the road, and they saw a fire, and I just happened to be on the road, and I interacted with them, and they said, "Do you know who Murdock is?" And I'm like, "Do you know what he looks like?" And I go, "Yeah, I'm Murdock." And then I got tasked, on this fire, I got tasked with ordering lunch for everybody. So I ordered anyway, there's a couple of burritos left. So I gave them some burritos, and Big Sur, we have this burrito bar, and you get these fat burritos. Anyway, I gave them a couple of burritos, and then they happened to have a bad Mexican food experience when they got to America. And then, but later on, they said that was like the best burrito they ever had. And it was so big. Him and his wife shared it. Then they had the next one the next day. So,
amazing.
No, yeah. And then another spin, living on Highway 1, I'm always driving town, and I keep, a case of Gatorade, power bars in my car. And when I see people riding, when I know they're traveling, I stop. Because if you're familiar with the Appalachian Trail, when you get hooked up with food on the Appalachian Trail, it's called trail magic. So I call hooking up cyclists on Highway 1 trek magic. So I stopped at, in the middle of nowhere, kind of some girls like, you're offering me Gatorade in the middle of nowhere. And then I say the magic word. I say, I'm a warm shower host. And then like, you're on a whole nother level. And then I give them a Gatorade, or sometimes I have bananas or whatever. So sometimes when I'm leaving for the weekend, I'll grab all the produce that is going to go bad, and I'll give it to the cyclists on Highway 1. So,
but I love it. Murdock, you are You are truly a host extraordinaire. You are doing so many wonderful things for this community. Like, what an honor it is that we all have you on Highway 1. I mean, this is amazing.
Yeah, and I just want to hear the story. I get it. So let's rewind. I after college, I drove my car around the country, and I stayed at a lot of youth hostels back in the day. And I always thought that would be cool to like run a hostel someday and hear everybody's stories. And this is like the next best thing.
Yeah.
You get to hear all these stories, and then let me put another spin on the whole warm shower experience. I, I I've never had a bad experience with warm showers. Over 200 guests. I mean, there's a couple that are kind of borderline, but it was nothing bad. I haven't had any, nothing bad. So any of you out there that's thinking about hosting, you're gonna get a lot out of it. Just meeting all these people, and I've used the other side of it too. Like a lot of people, like, oh, if you're ever in Seattle or you're ever in Pittsburgh, look me up. And one time I was flying back from somewhere, and my flight got canceled, and I contacted someone I hosted, and they're blown away that I called them, like, Murdock, we're coming to get you right now. So they came to the airport. They picked me up, took me to dinner. I slept at their house, and then the next morning they took me back to the airport, which I didn't even expect anything. You know what I mean?
That's amazing.
So it's gotten so big that I know the host to the south of me and the host to the north, and we try to do kind of a network where they're like, hey, I got a guy, can you host tomorrow night? And then I got someone, can you host, or whatever. So
I love it. I love it. Murdock, I mean, this is amazing. We are, like I said, we are so grateful that you're a part of this community. You are changing people's lives, and they're changing yours, and it's super special. Thank you. So, Murdock, where can people find you on social media so they can connect with you? And of course, if they're ever in your area, they should look you up in Big Sur, California.
I'm Pink Moon Diving.
Okay.
I like Pink Floyd, and I'm an avid scuba diver. And then, my real name is Richard Martin, and I'm on Facebook there. So
we'll put links in the show notes for people to connect with you on social media. And for those of you that, Michelle, first of all, the first person that you met, Michelle, if you happen to listen to this podcast, we would love to hear from you too.
It's actually Melissa.
Melissa. Okay.
Yeah,
Melissa, if you're listening to this podcast, we would also love to hear from you, because what a wonderful experience.
And can I talk about Melissa a little bit more?
Sure.
I keep in contact with Melissa, and after this trip, she did some transcontinental race across Europe, and met some guy, and got married, and they have 2 girls to this day. And you see all 4 of them out on bikes. I think and then she lives in, like, she was in Switzerland for a while, and then now she's in Vietnam, and you always see all these pictures. It's really heartwarming. Her riding around with 2 girls, and they're traveling. So you can't make this stuff up.
Well, next time you speak to Melissa, I think you should suggest that she should be in touch with us so we can interview her for the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
and then
I want
to put a different spin on, like, what a host expects out of a guest.
Okay, tell us that quickly. We're going to wrap up in 2 minutes. Tell us what.
Okay, so basically,
host, yes,
just do a little research, read their profile, find out it's all spelled out in the profile, and then try to show up before dark, because these people will have jobs and stuff like that, and then try to not treat it like a hotel in someone's house, and just try to sometimes hosts expect just have a couple of basic ground rules, so it's not a hotel. So anyway.
Yeah, I love that. Great advice for guests to show up and have the same wonderful experience as the host is having.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then
all right,
Murdock. People out there. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. It's still okay. We could talk all day. I know. We really could talk all day. We might need to do a part 2. But Murdock, thank you. Thank you so much. Not only for coming on and sharing your story, but for being so passionate about Warm Showers and the cyclists that you meet. And I have asked you to send in some photos because you have an amazing photo wall. And for those of you that are just listening to the audio version of this, go find the visual on Instagram, which is Warmshowers_org. And we'll post some of your pictures, Murdock, because they're pretty amazing.
And I'll leave you with this. All I ask from my guests, I get a postcard from, and then sometimes you forget about these people, and then like you get a postcard from Thailand, and I have to go through the guest book and see who this person was. So it's really heartwarming. Like later on, you get a postcard from people that stayed with you. So
I love it.
That's what I get back from these people. So anyway.
I love it. So good suggestion. Ask for a postcard and have a guest book. That's the other thing. Have a guest book as well. Keep track.
And then put a picture of the cyclist in the guest book, so it kind of does it justice. So I have a picture of every person I've ever hosted in the guest book, so they can look back and the guests can check it out too.
Amazing. Thank you again, Murdock. We appreciate having you. And for those of you listening, go check him out. Go check out his social media. We're going to link that in the show notes. And thank you for being a part of Warm Showers again, Murdock, and for joining the show.
And then I'll leave you with this. I got inspired by all you people. I bought a Shirley disc tracker. I retire in 30 months, and I'm going to do my own bike tour.
Yes.
So if you hear Murdock, if Murdock contacts you on Warm Showers, please help me out. I'm going to do the Southern Tier, 30 months.
Amazing. Murdock, we'll be holding space for you to do that. Thank you so much, and we will be back.
Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed the show as much as we enjoyed making it. Wherever you are listening, please leave us a rating and a review, as it helps us reach more cyclists and hosts around the world. Visit us at Warmshowers.org to become a part of our community, or on Instagram at Warmshowers_org. If you would like to be a guest on the show or submit a question, please make sure to email us at podcast@warmshowers.org.